I was born in Terre Haute, raised in Terre Haute, and went to college in Indiana State. When I was a kid, I was interested in drawing and I liked art, but I had no idea that it could be done as a career. It wasn't on my radar that I could do that. So when I went to school, I went for a business degree from Indiana State and started to work and acquired a family, and we eventually moved to Crawfordsville, and I started working for a big printing plant here in Crawfordsville. As I was doing that, I was always telling my wife that I was interested in art and that I wanted to try painting someday. So one time she bought me set of a small set of oil paints and some more brushes and things, tiny little tubes of paint. And so I went to work on it, and I soon realized that I knew nothing about painting. I was not good at it at all, but I was still interested. So on the side, while I was working, I would take some local workshops and did a couple of travel workshops to work with people whose work I liked. I just studied on my own. I bought every art book I could get a hold of, just worked at it, and eventually I worked enough that I was able to work myself out of my job and went full time with my painting. I did some custom framing for a while also for other people. I did that for about 10 years along with my painting. Basically, I just became an artist. And well, early on, I went from oil painting. I took a watercolor class locally here, and I just loved the feel of watercolor. Watercolor just suited me. So that's kind of where my focus went. Plus, there was a full-time artist here in Montgomery County, Rob Odell, well-known watercolor painter, and he was kind of my role model. I didn't actually study with him, but he was my example of someone that could actually do this and make a career of it. I started with a watercolor. I loved it, and I did basically nothing but watercolor for about 30 years. And in the process of trying to make a career of this, I started doing art fairs, and that was the focus for my work for the rest of my career. For 40 years or so, I did a lot of art fairs all through the summer. So through the winter, I'd build up an inventory, and then I'd go out just about every weekend through the nice weather and do art fairs. Once our kids were raised, my wife Cindy would go with me, and we were kind of a team, and we would do that. I worked through some galleries along the way, taught some workshops, and just whatever it would take to make a career of it. So that's how I spent most of my career. Now I don't do the art fairs anymore. I work through my studio here, sell some things out of my studio. I'm a member of the Brown County Art Guild and have been for a long time. I have a couple of other galleries that I work through, so slowed down my pace a little bit, but I still enjoy it very much, and I try to paint as much as I can. So when I started out painting, I really didn't have any idea what I wanted to do or where I wanted to go with it. I knew what I liked. I knew the type of painting that I liked, but it's never easy to get exactly where you want to go. I guess what appealed to me was real realistic painting, like Andrew Wyeth kind of thing. Obviously, I couldn't paint like Andrew Wyeth, but that was the type of work that I liked. And so I started out as a realist. I'd try to make things realistic as I could. Over the years, I realized that wasn't really where I wanted to be, that I want to put, my own style, do my own impression. So I think of myself as an impressionist now. I paint what I feel and how I would like things to look. So that's how I am now. Over time, I will say that I evolved into oil painting, or I went back to oil painting. All those years I was doing watercolor, I always thought, boy, there are certain things that I just like to do in oil. And I'd like the feel of that oil paint and to work outside with oil paint. I did about 20 years ago or so, I just got back into oil paint. I bought oil paints and I started painting outside a lot, even more. So, and that work from the start for me has always been pretty impressionistic. And that's why I wanted to go into oil, because I wanted to get into a more impressionistic feel. So that's what I've evolved into. I also do some large acrylic paintings that I call impressionistic or abstracted landscapes. And so that's kind of another direction that I've gone, and I've done a lot of exhibiting with that. So that's where I am now. I always want to have a direction, no matter where I am. I never feel like I'm exactly where I am, so I'm always looking for a direction. And I think most artists are that way. If you ever establish an area that you're totally comfortable with, your career's probably close to the end, I think. So I'm always looking for another direction to go. I became a member of the Guild in 1989, I think it was. I was sponsored by Crawford Donnelly. He approached me about it, and I felt like it was a good move. So I was invited in to be a member of the Guild. It's something that I've never really regretted. I think the Guild is more than just a gallery. It's a nice gallery. It's a nice area to go to, but the group of artists, the Guild, it's more like a family that's tied to the past and the founding artists and many great artists that have come since that. Then it's in a way it's a family that, like other families, we don't always agree on everything, but we try to move forward as artists. We help one another, and it's just a great organization to be a part of. In addition to the Brown County Art Guild, my work is available here at the studio. I also do some of the local paintouts where I'm a member of IPAPA, Indiana Plein Air Painters, and groups go out and paint. I also do some other galleries, and I do a lot of competitive exhibiting, juried art shows, and both in Indiana and some national shows where your work is sent in and you're juried for awards and maybe sales. And so that's another focus of my work right now. Web address, if you'd like to contact me there, it's jsmithstudio.com.